Hey guys, Julian here, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make better techno drums. I want to just make a video kind of breaking down some techniques I've learned to really take things to the next level. A lot of times I talk about this stuff, but I kind of go over it quickly in the other videos, so I figured I would just make one video where I just really talk about the important tips that I've learned to make the best possible techno drums. So, as usual, you can get the project file and samples and MIDI and presets, all the stuff from this video with these drums in the description. And if you're a patron on my Patreon, check there because it's already available and it has been since yesterday. And yeah, let's get going. So, the first technique that I've learned that really helps with techno drums and with making them sound as big and as full as possible is group processing. And what I mean by this is, on a much more simple term, essentially just putting your percussion all in a group and then processing it together. So you can hear we got these hi-hats / percussion here, and I'll show you if I turn off this group processing. It's just not really the same thing. Like, it is kind of loud because I have a bit of mastering stuff on here, but it just doesn't really hit the right way, you know? It's like everything is kind of all over the place. But when we put it all through the same processing and give everything the same sort of like sonic character over top of it, you can hear, there we go, it ties the whole drums together. And this is simple. Really what this comes down to most often is just a little bit of saturation of some sort and then some EQ to kind of clean things up and focus them a little bit. So like, for example, here I've got this drum bus. You know, I use drum bus a lot. It's a really good one. I've got this up pretty high as well. You can see we've got the medium setting and I've got the drive and crunch up. I've also got the transients up there. That helps a little bit just to kind of make everything hit a bit harder. Like, this is the kind of stuff you want to do, basically. It's like I said, a bit of saturation and maybe a transient shaper or something similar with compression to kind of tie it all together like that. And then the EQ is also just as important, actually, because if I turn this off, you can hear it's not as clean. Like, there's a lot of low end in there. There's a lot more of that from the hi-hats, and it doesn't have that brightness to it. But when I turn this on, it's kind of like what I was talking about with the drum bus. It's like when you put everything through this one type of processing at once, you can hear it makes it all a little bit more cohesive just by virtue of the fact that it's getting all the same, everything is getting the same effect essentially. So that's the first thing. Group processing, definitely, if you're not doing that right off the bat, I'd recommend, like, if you have a track you're working on right now, take that and try and do this, and you'll see what I mean. Like, it really takes it to the next level. The next thing that I've learned that really helps is layering sounds, and to illustrate this, I'm going to be using these hi-hats here. So if I play this hi-hat for you, this is the main hi-hat. It's 2 layers. And you can hear this is a very fat and full-sounding hi-hat. You know, we have some nice mid-range from this sound, and kind of like a nice body to the sound, and then we get some attack, and a little bit more mid-range from this sound as well, and then this one also has a lot of highs. But yeah, you can hear these two really complement each other, because like if I use either one of them on their own, you can hear it just doesn't hit quite as hard. It's not as full. But when we put them together, it's really the best of both. So what this goes to show is, like, try and put sounds together that kind of complement each other. Like when you're layering, you don't want to just get 2 hi-hats just to put 2 hi-hats together. You want to find 2 hi-hats that are going to complement each other. Like I said, this one's got that attack and the mid-range, and then this one's got some nice bright highs to it and a bit of a more soft sound, which blends well with that. And then you don't have to just do this with the hi-hats as well. You know, you can do this with a lot of things. It's just the hi-hats are where, with this example, I did it. But yeah, and then the other thing that I've learned that really helps with making techno drums is adding some kind of like an interesting sort of synthy layer. And what I mean by this is, if you listen, so we have a bunch of program percussion here, and I'll play that for you without the synth layers that I've made. You can hear it feels a lot more rigid and just kind of like straight and flat. But when I add these in, you can hear they really bring it to life. You can hear what we've got going on here is we have this one, and then this one. So you can hear this is kind of like a ride cymbal type of sound. And then this is just like this little white noise thing, which is pulling this through to the next part. So these are really simple layers to make, but like I said, they do a lot for just the overall, like, how, I guess you could say, compelling and interesting this is, because it's like, if you just have these hi-hats playing on and on and on, it's cool. But then when you have stuff like this where it's like that going into the next part, it's just going to add that much more cool stuff and ear candy that a lot of people don't add to their tracks, you know? So when you're sending your tracks to labels and when you're playing them for DJs and playing them for people, they're going to stand out a lot more just by doing stuff like this. And like I said, this is really simple. Both of these are just white noise in the operator. You can see, like, this one is just white noise, a bit of attack, and then it's going through a high-pass filter. And then this one here is just a bit of white noise as well, going through a bandpass filter. So yeah, like, really not that complicated. But it really adds a lot. And then the last thing I'm going to talk about here is sort of thinking outside of the box. And what I mean by this is exactly what you would think it means. Just doing stuff a little bit differently. So a good example of this here would be this ride. Typically in techno tracks, the ride would be going like this. Just constantly like that. And that sounds cool. That definitely works here. But what I did with this one was I tried just taking away every second one. So it's kind of like that. And then there's also this one kind of like doing a call and response thing with that, as you can hear. But yeah, so this is something, like I said, just a little bit outside the box, a little bit different, not something you hear in a lot of techno tracks, and I feel like it makes it a lot more interesting. Again, you want to make stuff that is going to grab the listener's ear and is going to be exciting and different, and you can do that in a very simple way just by doing stuff like this, you know, just thinking outside the box a little bit, you know, maybe mixing it up a little bit here and there, trying to do a few different things. But yeah, so that is going to be it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed. As always, make sure to like this video as well as subscribe, and let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Like I said in the beginning, you can get the full project file and samples and MIDI and presets, all the stuff you just heard in this video, in the description. And if you're a patron on my Patreon, check there because it's already available. Thank you so much, guys, and I will see you tomorrow with another video.